Welcome to this explainer. Look, today we're diving into a topic with absolutely massive high-stakes implications as we barrel toward 2026. And honestly, this dynamic affects pretty much every global stakeholder in the healthcare sector. We're talking about massive international hospital networks, mapping out their procurements, multinational drug manufacturers trying to secure their raw materials, all the way down to the cost of everyday prescriptions for patients worldwide. The urgency here is very real. We're going to explore exactly how India's top 10 pharmaceutical companies are acting as the crucial, irreplaceable engines powering global healthcare right now, and how they are aggressively positioning themselves for the future. So, to understand their true impact, here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with the $50 billion pharma engine, then look at driving global supply chains, humanitarian and chronic care leaders, innovators in specialized medicines, titans of the domestic market, and finally, the overall 2026 pharmaceutical landscape. Let's get right into it. Part 1, the $50 billion pharma engine. Let's take a look at the sheer scale of India's pharma output. $50 billion. That staggering figure represents the sheer size of India's pharmaceutical industry today. But to truly grasp what that number means for global stakeholders, we really have to talk about volume. This marks it as one of the largest pharmaceutical ecosystems on the entire planet. To put that into perspective, roughly 1 in every 3 pills swallowed in the United States and 1 in 4 in the UK originates right here from this very ecosystem. So we aren't just talking about a regional player operating on the periphery anymore. We are talking about a central, unavoidable hub of global medicine production that literally dictates international pricing and availability. Now, historically, you might have associated this market purely with basic, high-volume generic drugs, but look at this fundamental shift. The market is now heavily driven by complex generics, active pharmaceutical ingredients, or APIs, the actual raw chemical components that make a drug work, as well as highly specialized drugs and advanced biosimilars. For a global hospital network or a foreign drug manufacturer relying on these materials, this is a total game changer. It means you're no longer just looking at this ecosystem for cheap alternatives. Actually, scratch that. Your entire global supply chain is completely relying on this engine for highly sophisticated, specialized therapies. Moving on to Section 2, driving global supply chains. Let's meet the foundational suppliers who are basically keeping the world running. Here we have two absolute titans that present a really fascinating contrast in how they anchor the global supply chain. On one hand, Divi's Laboratories operates as this hidden engine. They are the foremost pure-play API and custom synthesis manufacturer. Basically, they make the raw chemical compounds that other massive multinational firms absolutely need to manufacture their own flagship drugs. On the other hand, you've got Aurobindo Pharma, which is this massive distribution network. They're an export-heavy giant, shipping a staggering portfolio of antibiotics and antiretrovirals to over 150 countries. So if you're an international stakeholder managing risk, your entire supply chain's vulnerability or security hinges heavily on the precise performance of specialized partners exactly like these two. Section 3, humanitarian and chronic care leaders. Cipla occupies a very unique, highly respected position in the market. They aren't just a manufacturer. They really operate as a premier humanitarian-led leader. Their early, aggressive push to provide radically affordable HIV/AIDS medications completely reshaped global health economics. They proved unequivocally that life-saving drugs could be scaled for emerging markets without compromising quality. Today, maintaining a deep focus on respiratory therapies and anti-infectives, Cipla continues to alter how international stakeholders approach drug pricing, making them a really foundational partner for global health organizations worldwide. Complementing that vital humanitarian access, Torrent Pharmaceuticals and Lupin Limited are tackling critical, chronic care on an international scale. Torrent is a major driving force in therapeutic segments like cardiovascular health, the central nervous system, and diabetology. Meanwhile, Lupin is known for its rigorous research, constantly pushing forward complex generics and advanced respiratory drugs. Think about it. If you're a global healthcare provider dealing with rapidly aging populations worldwide, dominating these specific chronic care sectors makes Torrent and Lupin absolutely critical partners in your long-term patient management strategy. Section 4, innovators in specialized medicines. This is where we see them driving some true, groundbreaking innovation. If you're a stakeholder looking for cutting-edge R&D partners, Zydus Life Sciences is a major standout. Sure, they're globally renowned for their chronic therapies, but what's truly remarkable is their leap into world-first technologies. They created India's very first DNA-based COVID-19 vaccine. This proves the ecosystem isn't just copying existing formulas anymore. Companies like Zydus are inventing entirely new scientific platforms from scratch. For international stakeholders, this signals a massive shift in where the most sophisticated, future-facing research is currently happening. Alongside that incredible innovation, we have Sun Pharma, India's absolute largest drug maker by both revenue and market cap. Grounded by that immense scale, they specialize heavily in dermatology, neurology, and specialty generics, with a footprint spanning over 100 countries. Operating in that exact same high-stakes space is Dr. Reddy's. They're a multinational powerhouse, increasingly driving forward their own biosimilars and proprietary products. They are moving way beyond affordable generics to aggressively capture high-value therapeutic markets across the globe. Section 5. Titans of the Domestic Market. We absolutely can't forget about local consumption. Mankind Pharma and Alchem Laboratories are the undisputed titans of the domestic market. Mankind is known for its incredibly strong local footprint across prescription medicines, over-the-counter products, and consumer wellness. Similarly, Alchem Laboratories specializes heavily in anti-infectives and oral solid formulations. But you might be wondering, why should a global stakeholder care about this inward-facing domestic market? Well, it's absolutely crucial because this massive, deeply stable local revenue base makes the entire Indian pharma ecosystem incredibly resilient to global market shocks. It basically acts as a financial shock absorber. If international supply chains falter, this robust domestic demand keeps these massive companies highly solvent and fully operational. So, the crucial point to take away here is the dual strategy at play. The industry thrives on immense international reach, supplying raw materials and complex generics to more than 150 countries. But that's perfectly balanced by an iron grip on local consumer wellness, prescriptions, and oral formulations. This highly diversified strategy creates an incredibly robust, deeply reliable ecosystem for international stakeholders to rely on for the long haul. Section 6. The 2026 Pharmaceutical Landscape. Let's look at how these strategic hubs are mapped out. As you can see here, this $50 billion ecosystem isn't just clustered in one vulnerable location. It actually serves as a geographic map of risk and opportunity. It's anchored in major strategic hubs like Mumbai, Hyderabad, Ahmedabad, and New Delhi. Every single one of these 10 companies has carved out a specialized niche in distinct regional hubs. For global stakeholders, this geographic and therapeutic diversification means a highly robust, de-risked supply chain. You aren't sourcing everything from one city or one factory profile. From Sun Pharma's specialty generics in Mumbai, down to Divi's pure-play APIs in Hyderabad, and Zydus's vaccine innovations in Ahmedabad, the operational risk is beautifully spread out, while the expertise remains deeply, deeply concentrated. I'm going to leave you with this final thought to consider today. Given their immense volume, their global reach spanning over 150 countries, and their increasing specialization into highly complex biosimilars and world-first DNA vaccines, how deeply is your own healthcare infrastructure currently relying on these Indian pharmaceutical giants? The landscape is shifting quickly, and understanding these 10 foundational pillars is absolutely essential for any stakeholder looking toward the future of global medicine. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and I'll see you next time.